Admiral Tejo stood on the bridge of his massive warship, looking out at the stars through the huge windows. The Eternal Vigilance was 1 kilometer long and filled with the best weapons the galaxy had ever made. For 300 years, ships like this one had kept peace between all the different alien races. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Tejo's crew worked at their stations, checking readings and watching for any signs of trouble. Lieutenant Commander Bo-Ra sat at the tactical station, her fingers dancing over the controls as she monitored the ship's weapon systems. Chief Engineer Won-Ho was down in the engine room, making sure everything ran perfectly. Peace had not always existed in the galaxy. Long ago, different alien races had fought terrible wars. The reptilian Vorthak had conquered dozens of worlds with their powerful fleets. The insect-like hive clusters had swarmed across star systems, consuming everything in their path. The crystal beings called the Resonance Collective had used their strange mind powers to control other species. But those dark days were over. The Galactic Council had brought all the races together. Now they solved problems with words instead of weapons. Trade flowed freely between worlds. Scientific knowledge was shared. Children of different species played together on peaceful planets. Tejo remembered his father's stories about the old wars. Entire planets had been burned to ash. Billions had died in space battles that lasted for years. Those were the reasons why the Council existed now. Never again would such horrors happen. The communication system beeped, interrupting his thoughts. "Admiral," said Bo-Ra, "we're getting an emergency signal from the Council station." "Put it through," Tejo ordered. The holographic image of Council Leader Veltar appeared in front of them. The tall, blue-skinned alien looked worried. His usually calm face showed fear. "Admiral Tejo," Veltar said, "we need your ship at Council. Prime, immediately. Something terrible is happening on the Outer Rim." "What kind of trouble?" Tejo asked. "Attacks on our colonies. 3 worlds have gone silent in the past week. The few survivors who escaped tell impossible stories." Tejo frowned. "Impossible how?" Veltar's image flickered as the transmission weakened. "The attackers use primitive weapons, kinetic projectiles and fusion reactors, technology we abandoned thousands of years ago. But somehow, they're winning." Bo-Ra looked up from her station. "That doesn't make sense, Admiral. Primitive weapons can't get through modern shields." "That's what we thought too," Veltar continued. "But entire colonies are being destroyed. The attackers seem to know exactly how to hurt people in the worst ways possible." "Do we know who these attackers are?" Tejo asked. "Intelligence says they're from a world called Earth. Bipedal mammals similar to the Vorthak but smaller and weaker. They should be no threat to anyone." Tejo had never heard of Earth before. In a galaxy with millions of inhabited worlds, new species were discovered all the time. Most were peaceful and eager to join the Council. A few needed gentle persuasion to accept galactic law. None had ever been a real threat. "Set course for Council Prime," Tejo told his crew. "Maximum speed." The journey to the Council station took 6 hours. During that time, more reports came in. 7 colonies now lay in ruins. Rescue ships found horrible scenes on the surviving worlds. Cities had been bombed until nothing remained but rubble. Military bases had been destroyed with surgical precision. Worst of all, the attackers seemed to enjoy causing pain and fear. When the Eternal Vigilance arrived at Council Prime, Tejo saw dozens of other warships gathering. Representatives from every major species had come to discuss this new threat. The station itself was enormous, big enough to hold millions of beings from across the galaxy. In the Great Council chamber, Tejo took his seat among the other military leaders. The chamber was a marvel of engineering, with gravity fields allowing different species to sit comfortably regardless of their home world's conditions. Veltar stood at the center podium. "Fellow beings," he began, "we face our first major crisis in 3 centuries. An unknown species from the world Earth has begun attacking our outer colonies, a Vorthak general hissed angrily. Impossible. No primitive species could threaten us. Show them the recordings, Veltar said sadly. The chamber's walls displayed images from the attacked worlds. Tejo watched in horror as primitive human ships tore through modern defenses. The human vessels were ugly and crude, covered in scars and weapon ports. They moved in ways that made no sense, attacking from impossible angles. Their tactics are completely alien to us, explained Intelligence Chief Kolvan. They sacrifice their own ships to destroy strategic targets. They use their vessels as weapons, ramming them into our stations. They show no regard for the rules of civilized warfare. A crystal being from the Resonance Collective sparkled with confusion. But why do they fight? What do they want? We don't know, Veltar admitted. They haven't tried to communicate. They simply attack, destroy, and move on to the next target. Bo-Ra leaned close to Tai-Ho. Admiral, their weapons might be primitive, but their ships are fast, and they seem to know exactly where to hit us. Tejo studied the battle recordings. The human ships were small compared to council vessels, but they moved like hunters stalking prey. They waited in asteroid fields and behind planets, striking when their enemies were most vulnerable. What do we know about their home world? Asked a hive-clustered drone. Chief Scientist Dr. Nexzon activated another display. Earth is a death world. Extreme weather, dangerous animals, and frequent natural disasters. Most species would consider it uninhabitable. That explains their aggressive nature, said the Vorthak general. They evolved on a hostile world, so they became hostile themselves. Tejo wasn't convinced it was that simple. The battle recordings showed something more disturbing than simple aggression. The humans fought with cold calculation, not blind rage. They knew exactly how to cause maximum damage with minimum resources. How many ships do they have? Tejo asked. Unknown, replied Kolvan. Our scouts report seeing different vessels at each attack, but we can't get close enough for detailed scans. I recommend immediate military action, said the Vorthak general. Send a battle fleet to Earth and end this threat before it grows. Stronger! Many voices agreed, but Veltar raised his hand for silence. The Council has always chosen diplomacy first. We will send an envoy to make contact with these humans. Perhaps we can end this without more bloodshed. Tejo stood up. And if diplomacy fails? Veltar's expression grew grim. Then we will do what we must to protect our people. As the meeting ended, Tejo looked once more at the images of destroyed colonies. Something about these humans worried him deeply. Species that fought like this didn't usually stop when asked politely. The galaxy had enjoyed peace for 3 centuries. But looking at those scarred human ships and calculating tactics, Tejo wondered if that peace was about to end forever. Captain Ginny checked her uniform one last time before entering the bridge of the Silver Dawn. Today would make history. She was about to make first contact with the mysterious humans from Earth. The Council had chosen her for this important mission because of her skill with difficult negotiations. The Silver Dawn was a beautiful ship, built for diplomacy rather than war. Its hull was polished silver, and its weapons were hidden behind elegant panels. Everything about the ship was designed to show peaceful intentions. Jin-I hoped the humans would understand this message. Captain, said her communications officer, we're receiving a response to our diplomatic request. Put it through, Jin-A ordered. The main screen showed a human face for the first time. The being looked similar to several galactic species, but there was something different about the eyes. They were cold and calculating, like a predator studying its prey. I am Commander Hyun-Woo of the United Earth ship Indomitable, the human said. You wanted to talk. We'll talk. Jin-A was surprised by how direct the human was. Most species spent time on polite greetings and cultural exchanges before discussing serious matters. Commander Hyun-Woo, she replied. "I am Captain Ginny of the Galactic Council. We wish to welcome your species to the galactic community and discuss ending the current hostilities." Hyunwoo's expression didn't change. "Hostilities? You mean the colonies we destroyed?" The casual way he mentioned destruction made Jin-Ae's skin crawl. "Yes. We hope to find a peaceful solution that benefits everyone. Meet us at the neutral. Coordinates I'm sending," Hyunwoo said. "Come alone. Any tricks, and we'll consider it an act of war." The transmission ended abruptly. Jin-Ae stared at the empty screen, feeling unsettled. Something about the human commander reminded her of ancient predators from her home world. 3 hours later, the Silver Dawn arrived at the meeting point. Jin-Ae gasped when she saw the human ship waiting for them. The Indomitable was a nightmare, made real. Its hull was dark gray, covered in scars and weapon ports. It looked like it had fought 1,000 battles and survived them all. "Captain," said her tactical officer, "I'm reading massive weapon signatures from that ship. It's armed beyond anything we've seen." "But it's so small," Jin-Ae replied. The human ship was barely half the size of the Silver Dawn. "Small, but every centimeter is dedicated to warfare," the tactical officer reported. "I've never seen anything like it." Ginny ordered her shuttle prepared. According to galactic custom, the diplomatic meeting would take place aboard the neutral vessel, but the humans had insisted on meeting aboard their own ship. The shuttle bay of the Indomitable was cramped and utilitarian. Everything was made of dark metal, and weapon racks lined the walls. Human soldiers watched Jin-Ae with suspicious eyes. As she was escorted to the meeting room, Commander Hyunwoo was waiting for her in a small conference room. Up close, he looked even more dangerous. His uniform was plain and practical, designed for combat rather than ceremony. Scars marked his face and hands, telling stories of violence. "Sit," he said simply, pointing to a chair across from him. Jin-Ae sat down carefully. The chair was uncomfortable, clearly not designed for diplomatic meetings. "Commander, I hope we can find a way to end this conflict peacefully." "Conflict?" Hyunwoo laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. "This isn't a conflict. This is us testing your defenses." "Testing?" Jin-Ae felt confused. "But you've destroyed entire colonies. Thousands of beings have died." "Yes," Hyunwoo said matter-of-factly. "We needed to see how you fight, how you defend yourselves, how you react under pressure." Jin-Ae realized she was dealing with something completely alien to galactic civilization. "Commander, we don't understand. Why would you test us by killing innocent people?" Hyunwoo leaned forward. "Because that's what war is, the killing of innocent people. If you can't protect them, you're weak. If you're weak, you're a threat to our security." "A threat? But we've never threatened Earth." "You exist," Hyunwoo said simply. "Any species capable of interstellar travel is a potential threat. We learned that lesson the hard way." Jin-Ae tried to understand what he meant. "What lesson?" Hyunwoo stood up and walked to a wall display. Images appeared showing Earth's history. Jin-Ae watched in horror as scenes of warfare flashed by. Humans fighting humans with increasingly deadly weapons, cities burning, armies clashing across continents. "This is our history," Hyunwoo explained. 5,000 years of continuous warfare. We fought with stones, swords, guns, and nuclear weapons. We've never known true peace." "But that's terrible," Jin-Ae whispered. "No," Hyunwoo corrected. "That's education. Every war taught us something new about survival. Every enemy made us stronger. By the time we reached the stars, we were the ultimate predators." Jin-Ae felt sick as she watched more images. Humans didn't fight with honor like the Vorthak or with efficiency like the Hive clusters. They fought with pure, calculating brutality. "Your Galactic Council," Hyunwoo continued, "has had peace for 300 years. You've forgotten how to fight. Your weapons are designed to disable, not destroy. Your tactics assume your enemies will follow rules. Rules exist to prevent unnecessary suffering, Jin-A argued. Rules exist to help the weak feel safe, Hyun-woo replied. In real war, there are no rules. There is only victory or death. Jin-A tried a different approach. Commander, surely we can find common ground. The Council offers Earth membership and all the benefits that come with it. Trade, technology, peaceful coexistence. Hyun-woo's eyes grew even colder. We don't want your benefits. We want to know if you're worth keeping alive. Worth keeping alive? Every species we've encountered in our expansion has been a potential threat. Some we've negotiated with. Others we've destroyed completely. It depends on their threat level. Jin-A realized the true horror of the situation. You're evaluating us for genocide. We're evaluating you for survival, Hyun-woo corrected. Yours and ours. If you prove you can coexist with humanity without threatening us, you live. If not, he didn't finish the sentence, but Jin-A understood. She thought of the billions of beings living peacefully across the galaxy, unaware that their existence was being judged by these human predators. What would it take for you to consider us non-threatening? She asked desperately. Hyun-woo smiled, and it was the most frightening expression Jin-A had ever seen. Complete surrender, disarmament of all military forces, acceptance of human authority over galactic affairs. That's impossible. The Council would never agree to such terms. Then you've chosen to be a threat, Hyun-woo said calmly, and we deal with threats the only way we know how. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. Jin-A looked around in confusion as red lights flashed. What's happening? Boarding drill, Hyun-woo explained casually. My people are practicing taking control of your ship. Jin-A's blood turned to ice. But this is a diplomatic meeting. You can't attack during negotiations. Why not? Hyun-woo asked. You came here with weapons. Your ship has shields and armor. In human terms, you came prepared for war. Those are defensive measures. All weapons are defensive until you use them to attack, Hyun-woo replied. We've learned not to trust anyone who carries weapons but claims they won't use them. Jin-A tried to contact her ship, but the communication system was dead. Through the small porthole, she could see boarding pods attached to the Silver Dawn's hull like parasites. 30 seconds, Hyun-woo announced, checking a timer on his wrist. That's how long it took my people to breach your hull and disable your communications. This is an act of war, Jin-A shouted. No, Hyun-woo corrected. This is a demonstration. Your ship is now under our control. Your crew is alive but captured. This meeting is over. Jin-A stared at him in disbelief. Everything she understood about diplomacy and civilized behavior had just been shattered. These humans didn't follow any rules she recognized. Your crew will be returned unharmed, Hyun-woo continued, along with a message for your council. Earth is not interested in joining your galactic community. We're interested in ruling it. The council will never submit to human authority. Hyun-woo's smile returned. Then they'll learn what happens when they fight a species that's been preparing for war since before they discovered fire. As Jin-A was escorted back to her captured ship, she realized the galaxy was about to face something it had never encountered before. An enemy that didn't want territory or resources. An enemy that wanted complete dominance or total destruction. The age of galactic peace was ending. Fleet Admiral Su-jin listened to Captain Jin-A's final transmission with growing horror. The recording played over and over in her mind as she stood in the Council's war room, surrounded by the greatest military minds in the galaxy. They don't fight like anyone in the galaxy, Jin-A's voice echoed through the speakers. They don't care about honor, efficiency, or minimal casualties. They fight to win, period. The massive holographic display showed the Outer Rim territories, where red markers indicated human attacks. What had started as isolated incidents had become a coordinated invasion. 17 star systems had fallen in just 2 weeks. How is this possible? Demanded General Coxtar of the Vorthak Empire. His reptilian features showed confusion and anger. "Our fleets are larger, our weapons more advanced, our shields impenetrable." Dr. Dong Min, the Council's leading expert on alien species, stepped forward. The elderly scientist looked tired and worried as he activated his presentation. "I've been studying the humans since the first attacks," he said. "What I've learned terrifies me." The display changed to show Earth, a blue and green world that looked deceptively peaceful. But as Dr. Dong Min spoke, the image revealed the planet's true nature. "Earth is what we call a death world," he explained. "Extreme weather patterns, massive predators, frequent natural disasters. Most galactic species would die within days on such a planet." Intelligence Officer Ye Jin added her own findings. "The humans didn't just survive on this world, they conquered it completely. They hunted their planet's apex predators to extinction. They learned to predict and survive natural disasters. They turned a hostile environment into their training. Ground!" Admiral Su Jin studied the data flowing across her screens. Human industrial capacity was beyond anything the galaxy had seen. While the Council built ships and orbital facilities over months or years, humans were converting entire continents into weapons factories. "Show them the production reports," Su Jin ordered. Ye Jin's fingers danced over her controls, bringing up surveillance images from Earth's surface. The assembled military leaders gasped at what they saw. Massive factories stretched across hundreds of kilometers, working day and night. Assembly lines produced warships at an impossible rate. "In the time it takes us to build one dreadnought," Ye Jin reported, "the humans launch 50 battleships." "Impossible," hissed General Coxtar. "No species can sustain such production." "The humans can," Dr. Dong Min replied sadly. "Their entire civilization is built around conflict. They've been preparing for interstellar war for over a century, even before they knew other species existed." The display showed human military doctrine, translated from captured databases. Su Jin read the documents with growing dread. Human warfare was based on simple principles: overwhelming force, total victory, and complete destruction of the enemy's ability to fight back. "They don't take prisoners," reported Colonel Min Ray from Intelligence. "They don't negotiate during battle. They don't show mercy to defeated enemies. They fight until either they win completely or they're all dead." A hive cluster drone buzzed with agitation. "But why? What drives such extreme aggression?" Dr. Dong Min brought up evolutionary charts showing human development. Every major extinction event on Earth was followed by rapid evolution. The humans learned that only the strongest, most adaptable, and most aggressive survive. They became living weapons through natural selection. Admiral Su Jin remembered her own species' evolution on a peaceful garden world. Her people had learned cooperation and harmony. The humans had learned war and survival. "Sir," called Communications Officer Tae Young, "we're receiving reports from the Kepler Nebula. Admiral Taeho's fleet is engaging human forces." "Put it through," Su Jin ordered. The bridge of the Eternal Vigilance appeared on the main screen. Admiral Taeho looked calm, but Su Jin could see the tension in his posture. Behind him, his crew worked frantically at their stations. "Admiral Su Jin," Taeho reported, "we've made contact with the human advance guard. 37 enemy vessels against my fleet of 200. Beginning attack run now." Su Jin watched the tactical display as Taeho's massive fleet moved into formation. 200 of the galaxy's most advanced warships against 30 primitive, human vessels. It should have been a massacre, but something went wrong immediately. The human ships didn't fight like any enemy the Council had faced. Instead of engaging in honorable ship-to-ship combat, they scattered into the asteroid field. They used the Space Rocks as cover and weapons, hurling massive asteroids at Council ships while staying hidden. "They're fighting like pirates," complained Lieutenant Commander Bora from Taeho's bridge. But Su Jin realized it was worse than piracy. The humans were fighting like predators hunting prey. They struck from ambush targeted the weakest ships first and showed no concern for their own. Losses. 3 human vessels rammed Council ships at full speed, destroying both attacker and target. Such tactics were considered dishonorable by every galactic civilization, but the humans used them without hesitation. "Admiral Tejo," Su Jin called. "Recommend immediate withdrawal. You're taking heavy casualties." "Negative," Tejo replied grimly. "We can't let them reach the inner systems." But the battle was already lost. The humans had studied Council tactics for weeks during their attacks on the Outer Rim. They knew exactly how galactic fleets operated, and they had prepared countermeasures. For every standard maneuver, human ships moved in unpredictable patterns, ignoring formation discipline entirely. They communicated through methods the Council couldn't detect or jam. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to anticipate every Council move before it happened. "How are they coordinating without detectable communications?" demanded technical specialist. Won-Ho Dr. Dong Min checked his xenobiology files. "Humans evolved as pack hunters. They may have developed instinctive coordination abilities that don't require technology." On the tactical display, Su Jin watched Tejo's fleet being systematically destroyed. The humans didn't just attack randomly. They targeted specific systems on each ship, crippling engines first, then weapons, then life support. They wanted their enemies to suffer before dying. "They're not just winning," realized tactical analyst Siho. "They're teaching us to fear them." The breakthrough came when human reinforcements arrived. 20 more ships emerged from hyperspace, but these vessels were different. They were larger and more heavily armed than the advance guard. But what made Su Jin's blood freeze was their appearance. The hulls were covered in symbols and markings that looked like tally marks. Each mark represented a destroyed enemy ship. Some of these human vessels had hundreds of marks covering their armor. "Those are veteran ships," Dr. Dong Min whispered. "They've been fighting continuously for years, maybe decades." The veteran. Human ships moved through Tejo's fleet like predators through a herd of prey animals. They showed no hesitation, no mercy, no doubt. They had done this so many times that destroying galactic warships had become routine. "Admiral Tejo, immediate." "Retreat!" Su Jin ordered. "That's a direct command." "Understood," Tejo replied sadly. "All ships, emergency hyperspace jump. Abandon the nebula." As the remnants of the once mighty fleet fled, Su Jin realized the terrible truth. The galaxy's 3 centuries of peace had made them soft. They had forgotten how to fight real wars against enemies who wanted to destroy them completely. The humans hadn't forgotten. They had never stopped fighting. While the galaxy celebrated peace, humans had been preparing for the next war. They were ready for anything the Council could throw at them. "How many ships did we lose?" Su Jin asked quietly. 163. "Destroyed," reported Ye Jin. 31 damaged beyond repair. Human losses, 7 ships. The numbers were impossible to accept, but the evidence was right there on the screens. In their first major engagement, the humans had destroyed most of a Council fleet while barely taking losses themselves. "What are your orders, Admiral?" asked Colonel Min Ray. Su Jin looked at the strategic display, showing human forces advancing deeper into Council territory. More red markers appeared every hour as human fleets seized system after system. "Send word to all Council members," she ordered. "Full military mobilization. Every ship, every weapon, every warrior we have. This isn't just a border conflict anymore." "What should we tell them?" asked Dr. Dong Min. Su Jin watched the human advance markers creeping closer to the galaxy's heart. "Tell them we're at war with a species that has never known peace. Tell them we're fighting enemies who see war as evolution and conflict as growth." She paused, remembering Jin's final transmission. "And tell them that our 300 years of peace may have been our greatest mistake." Grand Admiral Sun-Ho of Earth's combined fleet stood before the massive viewport of Earth's orbital command station, watching the final preparations for humanity's ultimate weapon. The sight filled him with both pride and sadness. Pride at what his species had accomplished, sadness at what they had become. Below them, the UES Terra's Wrath hung in space like a dark omen. 15 kilometers of pure warfare, the ship represented everything humanity had learned from centuries of conflict. Its black hull reflected no light, making it look like a piece of space itself had turned hostile. "Admiral," called his aide, Commander Jae-hun, "Captain Yun-Su requests permission to come aboard." "Send her up," Soon-ho replied. "It's time to brief her on the final phase." Captain Yun-Su entered the command center with the confident stride of a veteran warrior. Her uniform bore the scars and medals of someone who had fought in the corporate wars, where entire continents had burned and billions had died. If anyone could command humanity's ultimate weapon, it was her. "Grand Admiral," she said with a crisp salute. "The Terra's Wrath is ready for deployment." Soon-ho nodded, studying the tactical displays that showed the current state of the war. Human forces had conquered 43 systems in 6 weeks. The Galactic Council was mobilizing everything they had, but it wouldn't be enough. They still didn't understand what they were fighting. "Captain, your ship has one mission," Soon-ho explained. "Show the galaxy what human warfare truly means." Yun-Su smiled grimly. "Understood, sir. What are our rules of engagement?" "There are no rules," Soon-ho replied. "This is total war." Yun-Su nodded. She had expected this answer. In her years fighting other human factions, she had learned that mercy was a luxury Earth could not afford. Every enemy left alive was a future threat to humanity's survival. 2 hours later, Yun-Su stood on the bridge of the Terra's Wrath, watching her crew make final preparations. These weren't ordinary sailors. They were veterans of humanity's darkest conflicts, survivors of wars so brutal that most galactic species would consider them impossible. Weapons Officer Min-ho checked his targeting systems one last time. His computers contained detailed files on every known galactic species, including the best ways to cause maximum psychological damage to each one. The weapons weren't just designed to destroy ships. They were designed to break the enemy's will to fight. Strategic Coordinator Hai-wan worked at her station, calculating not just military objectives but how to break enemy morale completely. She had studied the galaxy's peaceful history and identified its greatest weakness. They had forgotten how to accept casualties. "All stations report ready," announced First Officer Kyung-ho. "Excellent," Yun-Su replied. "Begin the final phase." The Terra's Wrath moved out of Earth's orbit and into hyperspace. Its destination was the Proxima Gate, a massive space station that controlled access to the galaxy's inner systems. The Council had fortified it with their strongest defenses and most powerful fleet. They were about to learn that no defense was strong enough to stop a species that had turned warfare into an art form. The battle fleet defending Proxima Gate was impressive by galactic standards. 3,000 ships from dozens of different species, armed with the best weapons their civilizations could produce. Admiral Tae-ho commanded the defense from his rebuilt flagship, determined to stop the human advance. "Contact on long-range sensors," reported his tactical officer. "Single ship approaching." "One ship?" Tae-ho couldn't believe it. "Are you certain?" "Confirmed, sir. One massive vessel, larger than anything in our databases." Tae-ho studied the sensor readings with growing amazement. The approaching ship was enormous, but it was still just one vessel against 3,000. Either the humans had made a terrible mistake, or they were more confident than anyone had imagined. "All ships to battle stations," he ordered. "Prepare for engagement." The Terra's Wrath emerged from hyperspace like a nightmare becoming real. Even veteran spacers who had seen thousands of different ship designs gasped at the sight. The vessel wasn't just large, it was terrifying. Its hull was made from the melted remains of conquered human factions, each piece telling a story of victory through overwhelming violence. Weapon ports covered every surface, making it look more like a flying weapons platform than a traditional ship. Most disturbing of all were the markings covering the hull, thousands of symbols representing destroyed enemies. "By the void," whispered Chief Tactical Officer Ju Wan aboard the Eternal Vigilance. "What kind of species builds something like that?" The answer came immediately as the Terra's Wrath began its attack. But this wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration of superior force. The ship's weapon systems didn't just target enemy vessels. They targeted specific psychological weak points. Reptilian Vorthak ships were hit with weapons that caused maximum visible damage, playing on their species' instinctive fear of being scarred. Hive cluster vessels were attacked with frequencies that disrupted their group consciousness. But the worst part wasn't the weapons themselves. It was the broadcasting system that came with each attack. As ships exploded around them, Council forces heard something that chilled them to their cores. Human voices speaking calmly and professionally, as they described exactly how each ship was being destroyed and why. The humans weren't just attacking, they were teaching a lesson in terror. "Vorthak Dreadnought, designation Alpha 7, came a cold human voice over all frequencies. "Hull breach in sections 12 through 15. Life support failing. Estimated survival time, 4 minutes. This is what happens when you threaten humanity." Captain Yun-Su watched the battle from her command chair, feeling no satisfaction in the destruction. This wasn't victory. This was necessity. Every ship they destroyed now was one less threat to Earth's future. "Target the command vessels next," she ordered Minho. "Make it personal." The Terra's Wrath's weapons turned toward Admiral Tae-Ho's flagship, but instead of destroying it immediately, they began systematically disabling its systems one by one. Engines first, then weapons, then life support. They wanted Tae-Ho to watch his fleet die before his own ship was destroyed. "Admiral," called his communications officer, "we're receiving a direct transmission from the human ship." "Put it through," Tae-Ho said grimly. Captain Yun-Su's face appeared on the main screen. Her expression was calm, almost friendly, which made her words even more terrifying. "Admiral Tae-Ho," she said, "I want you to understand something. This isn't a battle. This is a demonstration. We're showing your galaxy what happens when you fight a species that sees war as evolution." "Captain," Tae-Ho replied, "surely we can negotiate." "No," Yun-Su interrupted. "The time for negotiation ended when you chose to resist human authority. Now you get to learn what total war means." She gestured to someone off-screen, and the Terra's Wrath's weapons fired again. This time they didn't target military vessels. They targeted the civilian sections of Proxima Gate Station, where families of Council personnel lived. The message was clear. Humans didn't distinguish between military and civilian targets. Everyone who opposed them was an enemy. "You're monsters," Tae-Ho shouted. "No," Yun-Su replied calmly. "We're survivors. We learned long ago that mercy is weakness, and weakness gets you killed. We're giving you the same lesson." Strategic Coordinator. Hae-Wan appeared beside her captain. "Admiral Tae-Ho, your fleet has lost 60% of its ships. Your station's defenses are failing. Your civilians are dying. How much more do you need to see?" Tae-Ho looked around his bridge at his terrified crew. Young officers who had joined the council to protect peace were now watching that peace burn around them. They had never seen anything like human warfare. "What do you want?" he asked desperately. "Surrender," Yun-Su said simply. "Complete, unconditional surrender. Disarm your remaining ships, evacuate your stations, and acknowledge human authority over this sector." "And if we refuse?" Yun-Su's smile was colder than space itself. "Then we continue the demonstration until there's no one left to refuse." As if to emphasize her point, the Terra's Wrath fired another devastating volley. More council ships disappeared in brilliant explosions, their crews vaporized in seconds. Tae-Ho realized he was facing something beyond his understanding. These weren't warriors fighting for territory or resources. They were predators establishing dominance through fear. "I surrender," he said quietly. "Louder," Yun-Su demanded. Broadcast it to all remaining ships. All Council forces, Tae-ho announced on the fleet frequency. This is Admiral Tae-ho. I order complete surrender. Stand down all weapons and prepare for human occupation. One by one, the surviving ships powered down their weapons and shields. The great fleet that was supposed to stop the human advance had been broken by a single enemy vessel. Captain Yun-Su watched the surrender with professional satisfaction. The Terra's wrath had done its job perfectly. It hadn't just won a battle. It had taught the galaxy to fear humanity. Send a message to Grand Admiral Sun-ho, she ordered. Proxima Gate is secured. The inner systems are open. As the human occupation force arrived to take control of the conquered station, Yun-Su reflected on what they had accomplished. The galaxy was learning that humans didn't fight wars to win territory. They fought wars to ensure that no one would ever dare threaten them again. The age of galactic peace was over. The age of human dominance had begun. The final battle for galactic civilization would take place at Council Prime, the heavily fortified heart of the galaxy where trillions of beings lived in peace. Admiral Tae-ho stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the galaxy's shield, looking out at the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. 10,000 warships surrounded the massive space station. Every species that had ever joined the Galactic Council had sent their strongest vessels. Vorthak dreadnoughts floated beside. Hive cluster swarm ships, crystal beings from the Resonance Collective had brought their mind-powered vessels. Even peaceful trader species had armed their cargo ships for this final stand. "Sir," reported Battle Coordinator Si Jin, "all fleets report ready for combat. Defense Minister Wu Jin confirms that planetary shield generators are at maximum power." Tae-ho nodded, but he felt no confidence. He had seen what human warfare could do. He had watched the Terra's wrath destroy his previous fleet with casual efficiency. But this time would be different. This time they had numbers on their side. 10,000 ships, he said to himself. Surely even the humans can't face odds like that. His answer came sooner than expected. "Contact on long-range sensors," called the tactical officer. "Single vessel approaching." Tae-ho's heart sank. One ship, just like at Proxima Gate. The humans were so confident in their superiority that they sent the same vessel that had already proven unstoppable. The Terra's wrath emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the system, its dark hull absorbing light, like a predator emerging from shadow. But this time, something was different. The ship wasn't approaching for battle. It was simply waiting. "Open a channel," Tae-ho ordered. Captain Yun-Su's face appeared on the main screen. She looked calm and professional, like someone about to conduct routine business rather than face. "Impossible odds, Admiral Tae-ho," she said politely. "We meet again." "Captain Yun-Su," Tae-ho replied. "You're outnumbered 10,000 to 1. Surely you don't expect to win against such odds." Yun-Su smiled, and Tae-ho remembered why that expression had haunted his nightmares. "Admiral, you still don't understand what you're fighting." "I understand perfectly," Tae-ho shot back. "You're human warriors who think violence solves everything. But this time you've bitten off more than you can chew." "Let me explain something to you," Yun-Su said, her voice becoming colder. "We are humanity. We have survived ice ages that killed most life on our planet. We have endured supervolcanic eruptions that blocked out our sun for years. We have lived through asteroid impacts that shattered continents. We have fought wars that lasted centuries and conflicts that consumed entire populations." She paused, letting her words sink in. "What makes you think your little galactic peace is more powerful than that?" Defense Minister Wu Jin appeared beside Tae-ho. "Captain, your single ship cannot possibly threaten our combined forces. We have weapons that can destroy entire star systems." "So do we," Yun-Su replied simply. "But we don't need to destroy star systems. We only need to destroy your will to fight." "What do you mean?" Tae-ho demanded. Instead of answering, Yun-Su gestured to someone off-screen. The Terra's wrath began moving, not toward the Council fleet, but around it in a wide circle. "All ships," Tejo ordered. "Maintain formation. Wait for my command to attack." But the humans weren't preparing for a normal battle. As the Terra's wrath moved, it began broadcasting on all frequencies, not battle communications or surrender demands, something much worse. Human voices filled the comm channels, speaking in dozens of languages. They were reading from Earth's history books, describing humanity's greatest conflicts: the 100 Years' War, the World Wars, the corporate conflicts, the resource wars, century after century of violence and survival. "This is psychological warfare," realized Chief Tactical Officer Juwan. "They're trying to break our morale before the battle even starts." But it was more than that. The humans were teaching the galaxy exactly what kind of species they were fighting. As the voices continued their litany of wars, images appeared on every screen in the Council fleet. Battles from Earth's history, showing how humans fought when survival was at stake. The galactic defenders watched in horror as human armies threw themselves at impossible odds without hesitation. They saw cities burning as humans fought street by street rather than surrender. They witnessed the aftermath of nuclear wars where humans had literally poisoned their own planet rather than let enemies win. "Turn it off," ordered a Vorthak captain. "Block their transmissions." "We can't," his communications officer replied. "They're broadcasting on frequencies we didn't know existed." The psychological assault continued for an hour. By the end, many Council crews were openly terrified. They had never encountered a species that treated total warfare as normal behavior. Then the real attack began. The Terra's wrath stopped circling and faced the Council fleet directly. For a moment, space was silent, except for the sound of 10,000 crews holding their breath. "All ships," Tejo ordered. "Attack formation. Target that ship and destroy it." The combined fleet opened fire with everything they had: plasma beams, quantum torpedoes, particle cannons, and exotic weapons created a light show visible from neighboring star systems. Enough firepower to destroy entire planets focused on one enemy ship. When the energy discharge cleared, the Terra's wrath was still there. Its shields had absorbed the combined attack of 10,000 ships without showing significant damage. "Impossible," gasped Seijin. "No single ship can have shields that strong." Captain Unsu's voice came over the comm channels again. "Is that all? We were expecting more from the combined might of galactic civilization." The Terra's wrath began its counterattack, and Tejo finally understood the true horror of human warfare. The ship didn't just return fire. It demonstrated complete mastery of combat. Its weapons didn't target ships randomly. They targeted specific vessels to create maximum psychological impact. Command ships were disabled but not destroyed, forcing their crews to watch helplessly as their fleets died around them. Rescue vessels were destroyed first, ensuring that survivors would have no hope of escape. Most terrifying of all was the precision. The Terra's wrath wasn't just fighting 10,000 ships. It was fighting 10,000 individual battles simultaneously, adapting its tactics to each enemy's species, ship type, and psychological weaknesses. "They've studied us," Tejo realized in horror. "They know exactly how to hurt each species the most." Vorthak ships were targeted with weapons that caused slow, visible hull breaches, playing on their species' fear of disfigurement. Hive cluster vessels were hit with frequencies that disrupted their collective consciousness, causing panic among the individual drones. Crystal beings found their ships shattered in ways that resembled the breaking of their fragile bodies. "Admiral," called his communications officer, "we're receiving casualty reports from all sectors. We've lost 3,000 ships in the first 10 minutes. Tejo couldn't believe what he was hearing. The most powerful fleet in galactic history was being systematically destroyed by a single enemy vessel. "How are they doing this?" demanded Defense Minister Wu Jin. The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Dong Min, the Council's xenobiologist, had been monitoring the battle from the safety of Council Prime's command center. His voice came over the comm system, filled with scientific fascination and absolute terror. "They're not fighting like a civilization," he reported. "They're fighting like a force of nature. Every move is calculated for maximum efficiency. Every shot is placed with perfect precision. They've turned warfare into a science." "But there's still just one ship," Wu Jin protested. "No," Dr. Dongmin replied, sadly. "They're the end result of 5,000 years of continuous evolution through conflict. That ship represents every lesson humanity has learned about survival and warfare. We're not fighting a vessel. We're fighting the accumulated military knowledge of an entire species." As if to prove his point, the Terra's Wrath began demonstrating capabilities that shouldn't have been possible. It fired weapons from angles that defied physics. It moved in ways that ignored the laws of momentum. It seemed to predict enemy actions before they happened. "Sir," reported Se-Jin with a shaking voice, "we've lost 7,000 ships. The remaining fleets are requesting permission to retreat." Taeho looked at the tactical display, watching his magnificent fleet disappear ship by ship. Each lost vessel represented thousands of lives, entire crews who had believed they were fighting to protect galactic peace. "Admiral," came Captain Yun Su's voice over the comm, "you have 1,000 ships left. I estimate 12 more minutes until they're all destroyed. Do you want to watch them all die, or would you prefer to surrender now?" The casual way she discussed the destruction of his fleet made Taeho's blood freeze. To her, this wasn't a desperate battle for civilization's survival. This was routine extermination. "What do you want?" he asked quietly. "The same thing we've always wanted," Yun Su replied. "Complete surrender. Acknowledgement of human authority over galactic affairs. The end of the Galactic Council as an independent organization. And if we agree, then the killing stops. Your surviving crews go home to their families. Your civilizations continue to exist under human protection."